Pay per call or pay per lead? Which one is right for you? We've been getting this question a lot in Leadbase Pro. And so in today's video, I want to break down the differences between the two, pay per lead versus pay per call. Let's jump into it. So I'm getting a ton of messages about this. Pay per call is kind of blowing up on the scene right now. Not exactly sure why. A lot of people teaching on pay per call. And so I want to break down in the video today, the differences between pay per lead or pay per appointment or pay per call. It's all lead gen at the end of the day. I think pay per call can be something that's really great, and I'll get into that in the video, but I'm going to talk to you guys about why I am 100% pay per lead in my business and why it's worked really well for me, why I'm able to hit 6 figures in revenue every single month selling leads that are form fills and not calls. But again, there's lots of people that have crushed it with pay per call, so we'll talk about the differences. Let's jump on the computer, prepared a nice little presentation for you guys, and so we'll jump into that now. And as always, guys, you can join Leadbase Pro by clicking the link in the description. It's only $99 per month, and I think you get as much value as one of these $10,000 guru courses. In fact, people have told me that straight to my face from Leadbase Pro because you get access to multiple weekly calls, an extensive course on how to get your first lead gen client, how to sell leads, how to generate them, how to scale your business. We have had tons of success stories in the win section of Leadbase Pro, and we have about 360 or so members there that are already crushing it. So join below today. You can cancel anytime. It's kind of a no-brainer. You can learn an awesome new skill that's going to be able to pay off even if AI starts to take over here. You're always going to know how to generate leads and how to sell. So you're going to learn that in Leadbase Pro. Join today. We'll see you there. Guys, I have a confession to make. I hopped in my vehicle the other day to go get a haircut. And then I sat there and I thought, I can't cut the flow. I would lose my power. Just like Samson, if you know the story. All right, why pay per lead is your best starting point. I'm going to talk about this. I'm biased, guys. I get it. There's pay per call people out there that crush it. There's pay per lead people that crush it. But when you're starting out, I want to talk about why pay per call is it's a lot harder to get started in pay per call. I would say your success rate is multiple times lower with pay per call just because it's going to take more investment. It's harder to get there. And so I'm going to talk about why, again, pay per lead offers an easier starting point. And if you're a pay per call person, comment below and prove me wrong. Like I'm open to things here. I'm not just trying to shove you guys into my way of thinking. This is my opinion on this. Okay, so there's some big challenges when you're starting in pay per call. I'll talk about that first on the right side of the screen here. You just have more creative requirements because what you're trying to do is interrupt someone's browsing experience. Again, they're sitting on the toilet, they're dropping their kids off at school, they're texting and driving or scrolling and driving, which they shouldn't be doing. We're trying to get them to call right now. So we need to have an insane amount of urgency in our ads, and there's just a lot more friction to get somebody to call again right now and interrupt their day, especially on something like Meta. With Google search, if you're an absolute pro with like Google search ads, this is going to be, pay per call is going to make a ton more sense to start because someone's literally searching for it, or they're like, Google Maps ads or whatever, Google local business ads. Those make a ton of sense because obviously someone's searching for it actively. They're going to cost a lot per click, but you're going to get a very high value call. Makes sense, right? But there's also people that run pay per call on Meta and they're able to be successful with it, but it just takes some very, very specific creatives to get that to work. Whereas with PPL, you're capturing information from users who are already in, they've been in research mode. Maybe they've Googled something about solar and now you're catching them on Facebook later. And we've got some information on them, but they could be anywhere in the consumer journey. They could be like, I barely know anything about solar to like, I'm ready to buy solar. We're trying to capture them throughout that journey. And therefore our creatives can reference different points of that journey. And your creatives should always be referencing people at, someone who's never heard of solar in their life. They didn't even know the sun could create energy. And then you've got the guy who's like, I'm ready to buy. We want to capture the attention of everybody in that spectrum with our Facebook ads with different campaigns and ads. And this gives you the flexibility of messaging. You can test multiple angles. You don't have to, if someone's sitting on the toilet, they can still fill out your form, but they're probably not going to call you unless, they could. But you get the idea. Creative success rates by model. These are just some stats that I pulled together off the internet. So again, this is sort of arbitrary, but this is about what I would say. You have I would say around 2.5 times more likeliness to be able to have a successful PPL agency because it's going to be easier to find buyers. It's going to be easier to get ads, and it takes less of an upfront investment to be successful with pay per lead. And you're going to be able to test quicker as well. You can pretty much run some PPL campaigns to test some of your ads with your own cash and be able to get some leads in the door to see, okay, this is working. I'm having some initial success. I'm getting form fills. You could get leads for a couple bucks depending on the industry. Whereas pay per call, you could spend several $100s and not really get many calls and not be able to work off of the data there. So it's just the cost. Some people are able to get their, cost per call down to, under, $50 depending on the niche. Obviously there's lots of different niches and lots of different prices. They're able to get that price down, but when you're starting out, there's a good chance, it's going to be tough to get calls at a decent rate. I did try this. I tried pay per call like 5 years ago at this point. It was more of a pay per live transfer model, I guess, that we were doing. And for us, it just didn't really make sense. In our business, we've had so much success with PPL. Again, I am biased here, guys. I'm not trying to, I want to be honest with you guys. I'm biased, but I think that you have there's just a higher rate of success with PPL. And again, I'll talk about how you could start with PPL and move to pay per call later if you wanted to, but I think it makes sense to at least start with pay per lead, learn the ropes that way. There's a lot of infrastructure requirements for pay per call as well. So if you're going to be running, doing live transfers or sending calls to a client, you're going to need a call routing system. You're going to need the client to have a call center ready. There's going to be quality standards for the calls that you send in. They need to be on the phone for at least 60 seconds. They need to have all these. If someone calls in and you're looking to do like maybe a mortgage angle and they have terrible credit, well, hey, that call didn't count, which would count for leads, I guess, too. But you can start to optimize and filter out those leads and train your pixel on Meta or Google faster with that feedback loop from lead forms where you can say, okay, we only accept good or excellent credit. That feedback loop is going to be a little bit more difficult with pay per call, and disputes about call quality is also going to be a common thing too. I also find with pay per call, it's this again, maybe because I haven't been in pay per call, but it seems like it's going to be more of an affiliate relationship where, I tried this in debt, like maybe it was more like 7 years ago. This was for pay per lead, but I think you might see the same thing with pay per call. You send them 10 calls, then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay you for 3 of those. And it's like, well, my cost per lead just went from 50 to 150 because they decided that they're not good quality. So there's those challenges as well. You can run into some of those in pay per lead, but I think there's going to be less of those issues. So you're going to have a lot of infrastructure set up to do this properly. The client base that you're going to be able to acquire is going to be a little bit more difficult too, because if you're working with smaller companies and you're sending them calls, obviously if they don't have a call center, they need to be ready to accept those calls. You're literally going to be wasting very valuable, high quality leads. So it's important that they have, usually a call center that they can manage these. You could easily go on an affiliate website today and find a pay per call offer very, very easily. Like literally you could go on an affiliate website right now. But again, they're going to be, let's say it's solar. They're going to be offering like 30 or 40 bucks a call. It's going to be very, very low. It's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to make money if you've never done this before. Because it might be like, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to go on this affiliate thing, 40 bucks a call. That should be easy. And all of a sudden it's $150, $250 a call, and they're paying you 40, and they're not even paying you for every single call. Getting to that $40 mark, which some people are able to do, they either have an extremely well-trained pixel, they have they have a bunch of data, they're just cold calling leads, so it's not necessarily costing them ad spend, or they've been doing this for so long, they've dialed it in and they've invested a lot of money into doing it. Hopefully that makes sense. PPL is a lot more simple and scalable in my opinion. So because you have a simple infrastructure of just running from Facebook or Google straight to your funnel, and then you can send that to your client, that's really all you need. You need a landing page builder, a quiz builder, and then you can send that to the client with Zapier or Lead Prosper or whatever you're going to use. So your clients don't need that sophisticated infrastructure. You just have to train them on how to work digital leads properly. And then talking about the profitability math, risk versus reward. Again, this is going to vary across niches, of course. And I would say it's probably even something more like 3 or 4 times when I really think about this. But let's just say, for maybe something like, insurance or mortgage, your PPL cost per acquisition is going to be, you're going to generate a lead for $20. Okay. Maybe you're going to sell that lead for $40 or $45. Pay per call again, let's say it's mortgage, is going to be $50 plus. And when you're starting, especially, it's going to be a lot more than that. Your starting risk multiplier is probably more like 5 times. That call is going to cost you $100 when you're starting out, because you just don't understand. You won't understand. Maybe you will. Maybe you're a genius. I don't know. But the difference between someone going to a forum and then someone going to a page where it's like, call us right now. They need to be extremely incentivized to call you right now. There's lots of gurus on the internet, I'm sure, that can show you how to use that funnel. But I think there's more moving parts than that. You can't just have a great funnel. You need to be targeting or have the right creatives, I mean, with Andromeda and things changing, hard to say with targeting, but you need to be doing a lot of the right things to actually get this in the first place to $50. So there's just a higher risk there too. Like, and especially in, if you send them a $50 lead to a call center, an affiliate buyer, and then they say, oh, it didn't count, it doesn't meet the quality standards. There's just a lot more risk there. I think that's something important to consider if you've never done pay per lead or lead gen at all, that, pay per call can be risky. Moral of the story. There's also just a lot less capital required to start a pay per lead agency. Again, you can have you could do a landing page builder, a quiz builder, and hopefully if you follow the client acquisition section of Leadbase Pro, you know that you get paid up front for your orders with pay per lead, at least most of the time. And in fact, in our business, that's literally all we do, or at least 95% of the time. We're even paid up front for our orders unless we have a specific relationship with a buyer. So you're getting paid up front. You're able to kind of finance your business through those upfront payments. You only need a few pieces of software, whereas with pay per call, you might need to hire appointment setters, call routing, proper hookups to your client CRMs. There's just a lot more investment that is going to be needed, especially with initial testing, to be able to start pay per call. This is pretty inflated too. You probably don't need to spend $5,000 and $2,000, but with PPL, you might be in for $500 to $2,000 with your testing, and that's going to be with your initial clients a lot of the time as well. There's just more risk because you're going to have to spend more with pay per call to get started. I think the best way to do this is to start with pay per lead and evolve from there if needed. So, everyone in Leadbase Pro for the most part has been able to grow with pay per lead and find buyers in pay per lead. You're finding buyers that do have a sales team that are able to follow up and pursue these leads and then get these leads on the phone themselves. You could evolve that to pay per appointment. So you could take over and build your own team of appointment setters that are going to call your leads 20 times. And for every lead you generate, you're going to book, let's say you book 1 in 3 of them to appointment, or even 1 in 2, you book half of them to appointments over time. So you can now take that lead that you were going to sell for 40 and you might be able to sell it for 80 as an appointment. And then you have appointment show rates, and there's a couple other things you have to calculate there. But that would be, I think, the next step. The next step after that would be, okay, now that you understand what's working in terms of the hooks and the creatives on your ads, for solar, that talking about $0 down, again, example, works really well. Okay, now with pay per call, you're going to send them to a page that is, hey, call now to access the government grant before it ends tomorrow, or to get $0 down, you're first in line. There's all these different tactics you can use with pay per call to get somebody to call right away, because now at least you know what types of creatives are working, what types of hooks are working. Maybe we can get them to actually book that call. Or maybe you have a hybrid model where you generate leads and then get them to call on the thank you page. I do have a few people in Leadbase Pro that are getting like a 40% call rate on their thank you page because they're driving urgency. So you can still sell the leads, and then anyone who calls, you can sell the calls. You could also do live transfers. So you could generate leads and have your appointment setter team call the leads and then live transfer those and be paid per call on the live transfer, and verify their information beforehand because you have a form and you could actually talk to them on the phone, fully verify their info, then transfer the call, and you're going to be more likely to be paid for that call. Whereas if you just generated the call off a click from Facebook. So there's a bunch of different ways you can combine these methods. Again, I would start with pay per lead. I think it's just a much easier way to start. It's going to help you learn what works in your market, and then you can evolve it very quickly once you've, again, invested time and some money into learning what works. And like I said, massive PPC agents, pay per call agencies do exist. They're crushing it. Again, there's probably people that, maybe people who watch this video who are crushing it in pay per call. Again, I would love to talk to you. So please comment below or hit me up on Skool. You need a lot of experience. You need to build out an infrastructure. I think it's a great goal. If you want to be a pay per call agency, that's great. You can do that. I think start with PPL, grow it to pay per call. Think of yourself as building a business, not just like a scrappy funnel. You're not just like a one man or woman band. You're somebody who's trying to build a business here. We've kind of grown our business to have several employees over the years. We feel like a legitimate pay per lead business, even though I'm just a guy in my basement. Okay, so you could think of pay per call like that too. You're gonna have to build a team. It's gonna take some investment, some time capital, some sweat capital that you're gonna have to put into that. But for sure, you could build a giant pay per call agency. I think there's just a certain way you want to go about it. So launch your pay per lead campaigns, establish profitability and client success stories. Then you can start to introduce pay per appointment or live transfer, pay per call. It's going to look different for everybody in every niche. It's going to look different depending on, there's so many variables. Like everyone's story in Leadbase Pro and the wins that we have are different because, they go into a different niche, obviously. Therefore, they're going to see different types of buyers, different sophistication levels of buyers. They're going to learn something. Like everyone seems to get, and including us here at Canby and Leadbase, we get a little nugget of information and it's like, Google's working really well for this, or Google Demand Gen's working really well. Let's put more time into that. Hey, it turns out Google Demand Gen is crushing it. We've been investing a ton into Google Demand Gen. We're going to be releasing some more training on this in Leadbase Pro. It's worked so well for us, and it gives us a competitive advantage because there's like 20 times more people on Meta than Google Demand Gen. So when we generate leads there, a lot of times our buyers aren't getting leads from Google Demand Gen. That helps us stand out and look really good. So that's my recommendation. You start with pay per lead, you go on from there. Again, guys, you can join Leadbase Pro by clicking the link in the description. We're always adding more stuff to it. This is not a thing, a course we made 5 years ago and now we're just trying to sell it to you. We are active in that community. We are always putting in new content and trying to keep it up to date with the times because things always change very quickly. And so would love to see you there. Appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.